and welcome to another episode of Two Minds, video game podcast. You're joined by me, Connor, a damn fine cryptid, and my good buddy
Me.
Beyond the Grave.
Hi, how we doing tonight, everybody? Oh, well, Connor, it's been a while since we've been able to record. And a lot
Been
has happened.
10,000 years.
It's been 84
It's been
years.
84 years. I'm not going to cut to that Titanic bit.
But how's everything going tonight?
Yeah, it's going.
Yeah. I mean, I would say it's going. It's pretty chill night, I would say. Let's see. We're gonna be discussing tonight the topic of remakes and remasters. That's gonna be a loaded one because there's quite a lot that goes into remakes and remasters nowadays.
Yeah. I would say that we should start off with like what is the categorical difference between remake and remaster, and how does the industry not follow this basic vocabulary difference between the two?
That is true.
So in the terms of video game remakes, I think that the core differential between those two things, even though there are exceptions to this rule, are
Yes.
does the thing exist and does it need to be completely built up from the ground again for it to be ported or for this new iteration to exist. There are some exceptions to this, but
Yeah.
remasters generally will have some graphical fidelity changes, maybe some additional content added, but
Yeah.
uh,
And to quality of
the core
life to make
components of
things.
the game are the same.
Yes. Um. Whew, what a doozy. And even then, sometimes with the remakes, I think sometimes what becomes a blurred line for remakes too are they're not necessarily remakes, but more like reimaginings. And I think that's sometimes where some of these
Oh, that's a whole
remakes,
other.
where these remakes kind of
What does
sometimes
Tetsuya
fall.
Nomura
Yeah.
think the
Oh
word remake
God.
means?
Yeah. That's the oof. That's the one that gets me a lot. Where I'm like, oh, and we'll
Because
get
there's
to that
another good
topic when we get
example.
there.
There's another good example from Square
Yes.
on what actually is a remaster when it could technically be categorically a remake with the
Yes.
Kingdom Hearts series. Because when
Oh yeah,
they
that's true.
released the
The HD remakes.
1.5, 2.5 HD remaster,
Mm-hmm.
the source code and files and like the gold master of Kingdom Hearts 1 was lost. That game had to be remade from the ground up.
Imagine that. And that's pretty common for a lot of Square's games. They lost a lot of their their masters.
It's not just Square. Apparently, it's been like a pretty common business practice,
Yeah.
especially out of Japanese studios, just to
Yes.
completely wipe all content. And
Oh yeah. Like video game preservation was not a thing up until like
no,
what, like the
in fact,
past decade, really?
actively destroying old
Old
content
data. Yeah.
to reuse that same hardware was common practice.
And look at them now. Look at them now
And
trying to
like
like.
there are so many stories of people just being like, "Oh yeah, no, some dude looked into the bottom drawer of his work desk 10 years later, and now we have the original source code for whichever game we're focusing on." A lot of
Yeah.
stories like that out of
Yeah.
Capcom, a lot of stories like that
Or it's
from
like how many
Square.
times when they were just like moving offices or whatever, and they're like, yeah, just throw it all out.
Yeah,
Who
there's the practical
cares?
side of it too.
It's crazy to imagine that they wouldn't want to preserve that. They're just like, all right, we did it. Who cares? Whatever. Move on to the next one.
It's one of those things where it's like I understand big businessman brain about
Yeah.
not caring, like, oh, is this an asset that we can use for another project? No. Okay, get rid of it.
True.
um but the thing that surprised me is how many devs, like, I know that maybe there's a legal line to be skirted about acquisition of company intellectual property,
Mm-hmm.
and physical property in some cases, but Yeah, I'm surprised there aren't more developers that are just like, okay, we just need to put this onto like a 10 terabyte drive and then put this in a vault somewhere and just be okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. What was it like a few years ago? I remember reading how like Santa Monica Studios ended up getting their gold disc back for the original God of War. Some guy found it at a garage sale and he bought it and
Yep.
he contacted them and just gave it to them. He's like, I think this belongs to you guys if you want it. I was like, yo, he better than me because I would have been like, how much do you want for it? Because you're not getting this back for free.
Yeah, for sure.
But again,
I'm just like, I also would not. Yes, totally. Game that came out before I was born. I totally was on the dev team and owned this for completely
yeah,
legitimate means.
right. Yeah, of course I was an ex employee there. I was in the mailroom. Didn't you see me?
But on the note of remakes,
Yes.
what do we consider to
Hmm.
be, what is a good remake? What is a bad remake? What makes a remake necessary, or a remaster for that
Yes.
matter?
Well, I guess one definition would be accessibility. Um, why a lot of these companies nowadays are doing remakes is because of the lack of accessibility without emulating a lot of that stuff. Because I know there are some people who may not have access to emulators. You know, not everyone has a PC. Consoles aren't always doing it. I mean,
Yeah, I
again,
mean, we live in this gray area where no one wants to admit that emulation exists the way that it
yes,
does, but we're all aware of that. So when it comes from like the industry standard, like, is this a product that can be sold to people again? Okay, remaster it, remake it. Do we have the original? How much work would go into reproducing this in such a way that it becomes accessible to people with modern hardware?
yep,
Because that preservation conversation is something that is completely ignored
oh yeah,
in the industry, at least by anyone who has the authority to make certain choices when it comes to pro preservation choices. Like, there's games that are released now with DRM that just makes it impossible to run
yeah, that's true.
outside of an officially purchased context.
Yep, that is true. Um,
So preservation definitely is a good reason. I think that there's definitely a market for, or there's a perspective of exploitable markets, which is not as horrendous a term as it sounds when you're talking from a business
yeah, I
perspective.
was about to say, I was like, what do you mean by exploitable? But
Well, from a business standpoint, exploitable just means like, hey, is there any use in this thing? Does this intellectual
yes,
property have enough of a bit of a, leg to stand on that we can continue to make money from it? Which is gross and weird, but
true.
I'm not a businessman. I just know how they
Yeah,
think.
yeah. Um, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I hear this, but I'm not sure how necessarily true this is. It one that I've seen like kind of linger around now is letting the devs fully imagine what they couldn't back then because of hardware limitations. Because as we know, yeah, hardware has advanced significantly since a lot of these games from the 90s and early 2000s, that they had to work with what they had then, but now they're
Yeah,
able to do it way
but I
more in
think
terms of scope.
sometimes the limitation breeds creative decision making. The
Yes,
we'll talk more
obviously.
about it in the conversation to follow, but that is what made Silent Hill 2 what it
Yeah.
is, because that
Oh yeah.
game is a product of the hardware limitations of the PlayStation 2.
Oh yeah.
The
Yeah,
fog effect
as well as
was
quite a
there to
few of these
cover
games.
bad JPEGs. That's
Yes.
that's the whole bit, is that when you remove that fog effect, like cough cough, the Silent Hill HD remaster for Xbox 360 and PS3, uh, you
Much no bueno.
remove the atmosphere.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh
You
yeah.
you make
Definitely.
it like there is no horror without the fear of what is
What you can't
outside of the
see.
realm of what
Yeah.
can be seen. But yeah, no, I think that I'm definitely of the mind that sometimes limitations can provide opportunity for creativity, but I don't
Hmm.
think that a lot of those decisions are made now
No.
because of how accessible like high fidelity hardware and software is. But yeah, I mean there's definitely uh, uh we haven't really spoken about FF7 remake.
Yeah,
Uh,
we're waiting to get there, but we will be. We will be
but
speaking
I
on
think
that.
that, like, for example, the Final Fantasy VII remake is an interesting split of, like, we are now seeing, at least from a visual standpoint, we are now seeing the version of FF7 that existed in all of our minds,
Yes.
because the PS1, polygonal block figures were not
Yes.
exactly your high quality CG, you know.
Almost lifelike, um, characters that they are now.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
with all the
we
expressions they
have
give off.
the ability and the budget to put behind uh making what we had to imagine before in like an actual reality. Um, but some would argue that that's also a detriment, because now we there is no space for allowing the viewer or the player to imagine what could be,
Yes.
because they're developing to not allow for that amount of room. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
There's a greater conversation to be had about, like, what how limitations affect Ludo narrative, but I think that's a bridge too far for this conversation.
Right. Yeah, yeah. That's something you can further discuss, like in a separate video itself.
But yeah, so what necessitates a good remake? What do you think is the prime example of good remake? I tee up
Yeah.
the home run here.
Yes. And we've
And
both spoken about this personally.
pause for a second so that I can swap.
Oh yeah. But yeah.
And go ahead.
As we know, I've said passionately about this. I'm a huge fan of the RE series, and I loved RE 1, 2, 3, all the games, even the ones I've had my gripe with. But let me tell you, when I got my GameCube and I saw this game, RE1 remade to what it is, holy good God. It felt like I was playing RE all over again for the first time. For me and many others that that we've talked to amongst our circles, and I'm sure you agree with this. RE1 hands down has to be the gold standard of remakes. Like
Well, our RE
across the
a Resident Evil remake, HD remake
HD.
is, yeah,
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like
that
the
is,
RE1 HD remake. Well, I
yeah.
mean in general, the one on the GameCube, and
The
then when they
the
did the
game that
HD.
is the remake of RE1, naming conventions for remasters will continue to be annoying.
Yes. Also a problem. Um, everything about this game just was fantastic. I mean, it stayed true to what the original like image of RE1 was. And even
The
then,
intention of the game is the same.
yes, keeping the I mean for me, I think keeping the controls as 10 controls was still a smart decision. And not to
Yeah,
mention
because
they
ultimately,
didn't
if you're changing that much about the game, then it's not
yes,
Resident Evil anymore.
of course. And then them not taking anything out from the original, but just making it just slightly better, just improving
Well,
on
there
the
are
graphics
one or
obviously.
two rooms that don't exist in Resident Evil Remake,
Yeah. I
but
mean,
there are significantly
but
more that did
I'm
not
saying like
exist in the
nothing.
first
I should
iteration of the
say.
game.
I guess I should say, um, they didn't take anything of significance out in terms of like story or how the puzzle solving was going on. Maybe yeah, they shifted some of the keys around because obviously it's a remake, so they don't want people to just be one for one familiar, like because then that just kind of defeats the purpose of it.
Yeah.
But not only that, then they go and expand on some of these areas, like with the graveyard. You get Crimson Head zombies, which let me tell you, absolutely freaked the hell out of me. Like I was I'm like, okay, cool. The zombie's dead. Don't have to worry about it. Because I don't always burn the zombies, because you know how you have the option to burn them if
Yeah,
you have the
you've got
lighter.
limited resources.
Yes, of course. So sometimes I don't do that. I'm like, I'm going to keep going. But then you happen to come back down that same hallway
This
and
will be a
suddenly,
problem for
yeah,
later, and then it becomes a
exactly.
major problem later.
And suddenly this thing darts at you like a bat out of hell. it's redhead flaming practically. It might as well just be on fire, and it darts towards you. It's sprinting. I the first time I saw it, I froze. I was like, I don't even know what to do. I'm done. I didn't know they could come back to life like this. Then you got the
It's
Lisa
an
Trevor
interesting,
involvement, which
yeah.
that was
Go,
also a
go.
beautiful involvement. I loved her addition when you discover her story, and then you get the masks to unlock her essentially her little arena under the entirety of the cemetery and all that.
Mhm.
And then doing her boss fight, you're like, holy like this is crazy. And then as you read her story, you realize like, oh, she's not dead. She's not dead
Yeah,
because you read
yeah.
all the notes. It's like
Functionally immortal.
they did everything they could to try and kill her, and she just keeps coming back. So even when, like in my mind, when you read this stuff, you're like, even after you do that boss fight, I was still thinking, is she gonna come back? Is she just gonna pop up anywhere? Like I couldn't. It felt again legitimately like I was playing RE1 for the first time all over again, and I was still feeling that same like fear where I don't know what's going on. Even though this all feels familiar, it still feels brand new. And for
Yeah.
me, that's what I absolutely loved.
It's interesting because like a lot of people will say that Resident Evil remake is their like that is RE1 to them, and it
Yes,
literally was
that is
RE1 to
true.
me because I didn't play the original.
You never played the
I got
PlayStation
a
ones
I
prior to
no,
that.
I got a GameCube much later than
Okay,
I
that
got a
explains a
GameCube
lot.
maybe 3 years before the Wii came out to put a timeline on it. I was also like a Blockbuster console rental kid,
Fair.
so
I mean, I think a lot of us were during that era, to be
yeah, I mean
honest.
there was that era. So a lot of my delves into like the N64 era and the game, like I owned the GameCube,
Yes.
like around the time Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness came out.
Also a great game.
Um, yes, very good game. Um, but yeah, no, so I played RE Remake as my first iteration of like what is Resident Evil,
And that's
and then went on to
interesting.
play uh PS2 versions of
Of RE4.
yeah, well, no, not of RE4. RE4, I'm sorry, RE4 exists exclusively on the GameCube. It will never exist on any other console, and if it does, you can take a chainsaw to the back of my head. And if you don't get that reference, it's fine.
But that's interesting. Did you ever go
Genji
back after
Mikami.
that point to play the original?
Not for one. Not for one. Mostly
Really?
because
Yeah.
I know remake like down to a like to a T. Like I know
Yeah.
sequencing in that game like the back of my hand. Because it was
Ah,
one of
okay.
4 games that I had for like a year and a half.
That's interesting. Yeah. I would have actually, now that you make that point, I never put it into that perspective, thinking this would have been like a generation's worth of people that this was their entry to the series. Or I'm like
Like
thinking
this
because of,
was Resident Evil to them as
yeah, because
opposed to
I'm an
like the
old head.
super. I've seen people play or I've seen people stream the original or
Yeah.
emulated ports of it. But like yeah, I was a big fan of the camp value of
Yes.
RE original.
Mm-hmm.
Um and maybe some of it's a little bit lost in translation because there's a difference between like the sincerity of camp performance
Mm-hmm.
versus the attempt to recapture camp performance because
Yeah.
it's what defines the thing you're doing, and you know
Yeah.
that after the fact. It's the reason people say like Tommy Wiseau can't make The Room 2 because The Room is a product of sincere effort and just total nosedive crash failure. But
Whereas the
that's what makes it what it
sequel,
is.
yeah.
Um, like if Resident Evil Remake was made trying to lean into like yes, it is taking those same inspirations. That's what the series is made from is the old action movie tropes.
Yeah.
But if it tried to lean into specifically the camp of the performances of the
The
original, then
original. Hmm.
maybe it would not have hit as hard as it did.
And honestly, I think that was the smart decision for them to not try to re-emulate like that voice acting where
Yeah, they're
they
just
had legitimate voice actors and they made the characters feel a bit, all right, not a bit, but they made them feel like serious tonally to what was actually going on. Whereas
yeah.
obviously in the original, yeah, they just picked random people and were like, hey, do you want to be in this video game? And just say these lines and go with it. Like, yes,
Like
obviously that
literally getting
was,
pulled in off of the street.
yeah. The guy who played Barry was what, a retired, like a principal on vacation from
Yeah.
Australia that was there, and they're like, "Do you want to be in our game?" He's like, "I guess." But no, yeah, the way they handled the remake altogether was just bar for bar, just done
Like
so
it
well.
is a universal improvement,
Yes, even
which
even down to
tragically is not always the
the
case.
even down to the tank controls, making them feel familiar but still cleaner with the new
Yeah.
movements, and having the fixed perspective of all of the familiar rooms that you were already aware of, with the addition of new ones where you're like, oh, where am I going here? What puzzle is this gonna be? I I just was absolutely floored with this, and I honestly thought this was going to be an industry standard moving forward. Boy,
Yeah, I think that some people have held on to
was I
that
wrong?
feeling, but
Yeah.
no. Yeah, it's unfortunately not. Money and effort are both scarce resources that are hard to,
Yes.
you know, plan for.
Absolutely.
Um, but yeah, I mean the fact that Resident Evil has kind of become like the face of remake culture
Yeah.
because of the eventual road to 4, which was the RE2 and RE3 remakes,
Hey, you know what's funny
which let me
about
bring those up
RE1
right
too?
now.
RE1 remake, or I should say the RE1 in general, is both a remake and a remaster. Because you got the remake on the GameCube, and then they remastered
Oh
them
yeah,
later
no,
on
they did
by
in
doing the
fact
H.
remaster the HD remake where it was just like, okay, now it's ported to every
Yeah.
like
And it had
uh,
modern controls.
Resident Evil 4 is a good example of that because Resident Evil 4,
Oh,
the
God.
essentially the greatest hits edition
Mm-hmm.
from the PS2 era, is the version that got ported forward to like, okay, here's what's available on the Xbox 360, and then this version is what's getting ported forward to. We have a separate disc copy available on the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, and I think RE4 has existed on every console that has come out since,
Yeah, including the
save for a
N-Gage.
couple of yeah, you know, save for the portable systems that can't handle it
And I
is
know
what I was gonna
nobody's
say.
gonna really know that unless you're as old as we are. But if y'all can look
I'm
at the
like, wait a minute,
N-Gage,
people should know what the N gauge is. No, no one should know.
no,
People who are older than
nobody
me don't know
should
what the N
ever
gauge
know.
is. But I think
Um,
RE2 kind of carries forward that feeling of like we are trying to capture and emphasize what the spirit of the game is, if not
mm,
the actual like it's not a one for one on gameplay.
oh
And
yeah,
they also add additional areas, but it's like we have built upon this what people there's definitely a percentage of the fan base where RE2 is their favorite game.
yes, absolutely.
And I think RE2 Remake is a great example of like trying to stay true to the spirit of the thing while also introducing new content that is not destructive long term.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I still prefer RE2 OG over the remake in terms of storytelling. I think RE2 OG had a better story fleshed out than in remake. Because remake, I don't know, the way they kind of tell some of the story bits, some of it is kind of fluff to me. Where I'm like, okay, they're just throwing this in to throw it in. Also, the fact that they took away that decision middle of the game, and the fact that the
Yep.
game plays the same in the remake back. I mean, like whether you start as Leon or Claire, like there is no
Oh
really
yeah.
any differences as
Listen,
opposed to
modern
OG.
consoles cannot handle modern consoles cannot handle the depth of the zapping system,
Yeah,
which,
yeah,
if you don't know, is the essential iterative differences that happen in the original Resident Evil 2, where if you pick Leon first and then you do this part of the map with Leon and then you go through with Claire, like certain changes will have been made, and then vice versa
yes,
if you start with Claire. Um, But yeah,
And even just
apparently
how
they're
certain
they're going
story
to lean
moments
into the
happen.
zapping system for 9 again. Like there's going to be something even
Oh,
remotely close. It's things to look forward to.
yeah. But yeah, but I will say though, I mean, I'm not saying RE2 remake's a terrible remake, not in the
No, it's
slightest.
it's
I do
it's very
love the
good.
over
I
the
like it.
shoulder like fear factor they give you when it, like a lot of times it's so dark. Leon's just barely using
Yeah.
his little flashlight to like see what you can, and it's terrifying. It makes you
Also,
feel that fear.
modern Mr. X is actually horrifying. Like
Yeah,
he is,
his
there.
tracking. Oh God.
It's very good.
Yeah, his tracking, the way he triggers all over RPD, it's fascinating because you never felt safe once he's active. Once he's
No,
triggered, it's like you're not safe whatsoever unless you're in a safe room.
like you. That's the thing. Even the safe rooms don't have that feeling that the definitive like transitionary rooms did in the OG RPD.
Hmm.
Getting like that there's certain spaces that like okay, he can't follow me through here, or we'll get to
Oh
this
yeah,
stage and he'll
yeah.
end up on the other side. But um, the RE2 make is very, very good on creating that sense of unease with
Hmm.
Mr. X because it like you feel like they've broken their own rules with how
Yeah,
on point that tracking is.
yeah. Also, I will say some of my least favorite parts to RE2 were when they split the story and you like when Leon gets shot and he gets injured and then you play as Ada.
Yeah.
Her stuff just, I don't know, I did not enjoy her gameplay at all. I didn't enjoy like her section because I was, again, that's some of the fluff where I was like, why, like, do I really care about this? Do I really need to see this? Yes, it's just her going after a net. Big okay. And then also Sherry's gameplay, I'm like, I don't care about this
Yeah.
orphanage like part with the Captain Brian Irons. I'm like, you could take this out and guess what, the game would still be the
Yeah,
same.
like it's fine
Like,
for additional content. It doesn't hurt that it's there, but it
yeah.
doesn't contribute to the whole the same way that some of the other changes are made. I don't know. I'm still all for the remake universe just completely retconning 6.
You know,
Like we're getting to that point where it's like,
it's gonna
okay,
take a while.
we can't remake 6 because the remakes have been to stop 6 from happening in canon. Like there's certain changes and details that are just like, okay, we just need to avoid this because this is where the series almost crashed and burned.
Alternate
Um,
timeline bulges.
well, I mean, yeah, let's just say that RE6 was the alternate timeline. We'll call it a day. Um, although when it comes to like remakes and remasters, we didn't queue it, but um, the Revelations games started out as 3DS games and
That
were
is true.
ported. Like, they were very good
Well, the first
when it
one did.
came to
The second one was
yeah.
always on a console, but the first one, yes,
Well, the translation of Revelations from being a 3DS game to
to a now
being a
console game.
game
Yeah,
was a really good translation. The changes that and hardware fidelity updates that were made were on point.
and Lady Hunk, awesome inclusion as well.
Yeah, basically. But no, it was an interesting side story, and uh
Aren't they
I don't know.
canon?
It's one of those things. Yes,
Aren't the both Revelations games are canon, aren't they?
yeah, they
Oh,
take
okay,
place in the margins of what the mainline story is, but
okay,
yeah, they're
okay.
they're both canon.
That's what I thought. What's next?
I mean, do you want to talk about the, in the good, the bad, and the ugly of it all, the fact that RE3 makes sucks?
Yeah, I mean, we might as well close it out. Well, I mean, we might as well
Let's.
get to that
I don't know why
with
this is Russian
because
because it's also
oh, hello. Yes, and this
there we go.
remake just takes everything
So
RE3.
all those good things that RE2 did, that iterated and built upon, the source material,
Hmm.
like a good example of when you're not doing that is the immediate follow-up with RE3 Remake.
Yeah, I don't know how they. I
I
mean,
mean, when it
I
comes
don't
to
know
the
if
actual
it's
experience, you're gonna have to tell me because I didn't play it, but I did
like
watch it
here's
streamed.
my thing. I don't know if it's due to the outsourcing that they just let them take creative liberties, or this was legitimately Capcom's say and they just said, "Hey, make the game like this." But Resident Evil 3 remake, just to me, does no justice to the OG. Like, for instance, I mean, aside from the new gameplay, obviously, rather than like what it feels like exploring all of Raccoon City like you do in Resident Evil 3,
Yeah,
like the OG game, this one just felt like you're going to just little sections of the city
it
where
did
you're like,
feel
oh,
like more
you're
of a
here.
series of hallways
Yeah, where it's like, oh, you take here
than
to go
two.
here, and then you have to go back out to here, and like it was only set locations. Not only that, Nemesis does not feel as terrifying as he did in the original game. In the original
Which
game, it's
is
like,
such a letdown compared to how
oh
well the Mr. X translation went through.
yeah, that's why like after the beginning like intros of the city area where you see Nemesis, you don't see him until way later on, and it's a completely different boss fight. Like you see him mutating into this like big dog like monster things where he's now crawling on all four, or he's running at you on all fours. I don't know, and it just didn't do it for me. None of it felt great. Not to mention you get rid of um the choice mechanic from the original game where it's like, oh, when he does come at you or something's happening, it's like, oh, what do you want to do? Do you want to jump down the shaft here, or do you want to jump over here, or do you want to jump off the bridge, or do you want to challenge Nemesis? Like, none of that being included already feels like they just took a good significant amount of the game out. The dodge mechanic's still there, that's cool. Then they
Hmm.
get rid of the clock tower like sequences. Like the clock tower is not in the remake. Like the area where you're in the clock tower per se, like exploring like you do. It's kind of just a little section where you're at the bottom and you need
Okay.
Carlos to move the bell tower. That's gone. Carlos now explores the hospital. Like there's some things where I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool, but at the end of the day, it just doesn't hit any of the standards of what the OG did. Like the OG really felt like you were being chased through a city. Like you're trying
Yeah.
to escape to the best of your abilities that you can while she's still trying to put together what's going on. And obviously you have Nikolai and who's also a real douche. I mean, that carries over in both games. Who's trying to kill you every step of the way too, because obviously we find out he's also working for Umbrella. Um Carlos's gameplay does feel good though. But this game just doesn't feel like it hits like that same oomph as OG RE3 did. And then
Yeah,
I
so in the way
hated,
that RE Remake 2 takes, the building blocks and
yes,
celebrates and iterates upon them, RE3 uses those same components because, again, you have everything being made for the new RE engine,
yeah.
which all this is running on.
I
And
guess,
it's
well,
like,
one thing
okay, now
too.
that the hard and expensive thing has been done,
Hmm.
we're just gonna kind of like we could be iterating on story and just expanding upon things with the new hardware, but instead we're just going to you know uh,
Yeah.
here's a poor translation
I
of
will
the
give it
feeling of what RE3
this.
was.
The one thing I do enjoy about this game is that you see the police station before Leon and Claire get there. So you see how it was before, and then you see why certain things are the way when they get there. Like you see why the hole in the bathroom gets blown out because Nemesis and
Yeah,
is chasing them through. Like you see some of that stuff. So I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. It explains some of those events. But for the most part, it literally felt like how you mentioned, like you go through corridor, then you get to big open area, then you come back through said corridor to get to another. Like it didn't feel like the original where things led to each other. Where you're going from one part of the city and you go through this door, now you're in a separate part. You're at the central station, you're at the park itself. Um they even, if I remember correctly, they take out the whole like um grave not grave digger, but the big worm sequence that leads you underground. It's like You blow past so much, and then you're suddenly at a power plant, and then the bugs, these bug enemies are there chasing Jill, and it's like, okay,
So
so we're just gonna,
does it? Again, I haven't played through it. I've only seen some of it, but does it like remove, aside
yes,
from those choice mechanics, does it remove active like
yeah,
content
yeah,
sequences?
yes. There's quite a bit of content and locations that just get removed.
Does it replace any of that with anything of like substance?
Not really. Not to be honest, no, at least not for Jill. Maybe for Carlos's area, yes, because as I mentioned, when Jill gets poisoned and he's looking for like a little cure, rather than like like they took out the entirety of the whole clock tower area, he goes and explore RPD or or RC hospital, the Raccoon City Hospital, where he has to
Yeah,
go through that sequence of area. So I was like, okay, they gave him an original brand new area, pretty cool. But
but it was at the
one
cost of
of
something that might be a favorite sequence of someone who played the original.
yes, which quite a lot of people did like voice that out, and then
Yeah.
for me too, the final boss fight, it's kind of a letdown compared to the original, I guess you could say.
Mm.
Because now it's like I mentioned, Nemesis doesn't feel as like terrifying. It's just literally him evolving into a bigger and bigger monster that
Which I
eventually
think
you're,
is like the biggest letdown when it
yeah.
comes to this translation of what RE3 is supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Because between like RE2 and RE3 original, I actually kind of preferred RE3 because of all of the Nemesis sequences.
Yeah.
Like all of those path choices that, it's like, oh, do I confront a harder fight for a better payoff?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and it like Nemesis lives true to the fucking name because he's an active problem throughout the
Oh
entirety
yeah, and that's because
of the game.
In the OG games, I will say OG RE3 with Nemesis is better than OG Mr. X, but that's because in
Yeah.
OG Nemesis, you had to kill him to get the best weapon parts to build the best gun.
Yes.
In the remake,
And
it's
that
like
was
even if you were to fight him, you get nothing. Like,
so I think that that's something when it comes to remasters and remakes is that, well, more so remakes, that when you're dealing with something of quality, that when you are dealing with something of like there is a built fan expectation about how any kind of improvement or iteration of this particular sequence is going, like the expectations are that much more higher for remaking something that's good
mm-hmm.
as opposed to expanding on something that was maybe like not necessarily bad but mid. Like
Yeah,
you were improving components that were not as good in a game that is still beloved. Like both are, I've heard a lot of shit talked about remake, but there are still
mm-hmm.
people who enjoyed their time with it.
Oh yeah,
But
obvious.
it's harder to meet the expectations on improving something that is already beloved than it is on expanding on things that people had criticisms for.
mm-hmm. So, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, some of it just felt very lacking for even for what they did in terms of gameplay. It still just felt very lacking compared to the original at the end of the day.
Yeah. Which I honestly transition to um which kind of just I can't speak too heavily on the RE4 remake state of being.
Mm.
Oop, 1 second. Okay. Um, I can't speak too heavily on RE4 remake because I haven't finished it.
Oh,
And I got to the end of the village sequence.
okay.
Um,
So you never entered
and
the castle then?
yeah, no. I haven't seen most of the content that's been changed. I think RE4 make had the toughest job it possibly could in that you were trying to improve on what is seen largely as a perfect game.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Like RE4
Set the
is
standard for everything, like
like
third person
it
shooter and above and beyond.
changed so much. It rewrote the book on not only what could be expected of Resident Evil, but
Yeah.
just like the quality of the content, the actual gameplay, the over the shoulder fucking camera system. That is all, like, the whole shift of focus is all because of RE4.
Yeah.
And it's like how much it also kind of set the pace for the downturn of the series, because it's like, okay, we need to focus on the action sequences of RE4. This is no longer really a survival horror game. This is a survival action game.
Yeah.
Um, and that's kind of why 5 and definitely 6 fall as flat as they do,
Oh yeah.
because they're trying to live up to that standard.
Well, 6 is
Um,
just a fucking quick time event action game.
I 6 is a meme. Fucking so it's hard for me to say that RE4, doesn't meet up, because I haven't seen it content complete. But the
I
remake
have.
feels like they are sincerely trying to build on that shift in dynamic.
Yes.
The action sequence and the actual feel of the gameplay is definitely more fluid, which, some people will say that, having to lock in place to, go into aim and shoot, and the inability to walk in the original was part of its difficulty,
Yeah.
and like should be, sacred and cherished. But no, it's like making the action, like the feel of the actual gameplay more fluid, has made that game a lot more interesting to play. It's
Mm-hmm.
harder for sure,
Yeah.
but it felt pretty sincere in there. Like, this was much closer to the degree of successful translation of RE2 than, RE3, 100%.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Like, personally, I enjoyed the remake. It was fantastic. And again, I'm not saying
But I only got to
it's.
like the 20% mark in the game, so I
I'm
don't
not
know
saying
what is or is not
it's
missing.
terrible in any sense, but it's like for everything they did good, there was something that kind of balanced it out as a negative, where you're like, oh, okay, so we're doing that. Like, and again, the remake is still good. Like, it's fantastic.
Did I hear right? It was like one of the Verdugo fights is just gone.
The one of the Verdugo fights is in Ada's DLC.
That
It's not
sucks.
no, it's yeah. There's one of the and then the what's this monster? The UL something, like one where you're fighting a monster on a bunch of like overhanging containers, shipment containers that like you have to escape from one to the other, and this thing like digs underground and then it pops up every now and then and comes at you. That was removed from Leon's aspect. When you're in the mines, it's given to Ada.
So there were some compromises made to
Correct. There was
Leon's
yeah.
game
There's
to create more of a thing. Because, like, if you go back
like
to, again, the greatest hits version of
mm-hmm,
RE4, which has all of the additional content that was made for its original story, there are sequences with Ada, like Operation Ada,
yeah.
fucking, where you go and find Leon's jacket, because that's about as important as anything else that
Well,
Ada
yeah.
does.
Obviously.
Um,
So, like, for instance, I mean, they're tonally just the two games are completely different. As we know, RE4 more cheeky, more campy with the comedy,
oh
the
yeah,
one
that
liners,
is action schlock.
like, and then you get the tone of Resident Evil 4 where Leon feels serious, where he's like, "I'm here for the president's daughter. What's going on?" His one liners, some of them are there, but they don't hit the same. They just hit for people because it's like, oh, the nostalgia effect. Like, ah, he said the line. There he
Like,
said the
yeah,
line.
that I think that's something that you need, like, people need to be wary of, but also when it comes to development, it's like, are you putting these lines in because it's what the character is about and it's what
Yeah,
you're trying to
like
convey,
like
or are these sequences only still in the game because you have to make the reference, otherwise people will be pissed off?
pretty much. And like one of my favorite things that I loved about the remake is Luis's character development. Like
Mm.
obviously in the original, he's the Rico Suave Spanish guy. You don't really know much about him or what his motives are, and most times he's just like, "Oh, I forgot something. Hold on, I'll be back." Like, and he just disappears. so you're not really like getting too much of him, and then suddenly he dies, and you're like, "Fuck, that sucks." In the
And it's
remake,
like, oh well, yeah,
yeah, in the remake, they make him a character where it's like, oh shit, like you get his intentions. He used to be a former Umbrella scientist who helped with the Ganado stuff,
yeah,
and when he sees everything that's going on, he's essentially on a mission to not repent, but to redeem himself. Where he's
yeah,
like, I can still save things if I tried. So you see a lot of that story, and you read about a lot of his story too. Why he's helping Leon in the first place, and why he's out there doing everything they need to do. So when he dies, you legitimate feel like, oh fuck, like this man really was doing everything he could once he found out what the actual motives were
yeah.
to try and like salvage what he can and essentially make himself feel good.
Yeah,
But
but
one
I think
thing,
that that's really like the advantage that you have when it comes to
mhm,
remaking something that's as beloved as RE4 is like, okay, here is bringing forward Lisa's character into being a full character on screen.
mhm,
Like it's a show don't tell situation because you're
yeah,
taking aspects of like what used to be like codex notes and you're showing them diegetically,
mhm,
which that's what you should be doing. You should be expanding upon characters that are beloved but you don't actually see a lot of their content, like
yeah,
making new content, and
yeah,
not in the way that they were, like with Ada, where not that I hate Ada's sequences, but I think that if you need to pull like sections of a game away from one
from
character,
all
like your
the
primary
yeah,
protagonist, to give them to another character to make it seem like more of an A-B storyline,
mhm,
that is kind of a detriment to both, because you're taking sequences away, but you're also placating, like, okay, well, here's what Ada was doing the whole time. Okay, have Ada do content we didn't see the first time around, make
yeah,
something new, like.
mhm. Um, but then on the flip side, which is where I'm saying, this is where I was saying like they do one good thing and then they like like debalance that by doing this, where Hunnigan and Sadler pretty much are nowhere to be found in this game.
Yeah, that's the thing that really kind
Like
of
those
hit me
codex
more than anything
calls,
else. Those
like
yeah, the codec calls
no,
are not in the game.
no, like Sadler shows up towards the end of the game in like the final set, like the final area, and suddenly he's like, "Oh, I'm the big bad, by the way." But it's like at that point, like, what do I? You don't really feel like a bad guy at all. You just feel like you just showed up just for the finale, for the final boss fight instance, and
Like the
that's it.
whole reason, aside from Metal Gear being as culturally dominant as it was, um, the whole reason for the codec calls was so that you could establish like directives and scenes and
Hmm.
character like choices in describing who Sadler is, who
Yeah,
yeah, like you don't get that character build up that
not
you
at all.
would otherwise by removing that, intermediary, because
Yeah.
you can't have like 50, again, to go to RE6 and like all of the things that it does wrong. You can't have an enemy where you have 15 fucking interactions with it, like in a
Hmm.
boss fight sense, and still have them feel like not only developed or like threatening.
Yeah.
Um, because that's the biggest problem I have with Jake's sequence in fucking RE6 is that you fight the
Hmm.
same goddamn fight like
Oh,
5 to 10 times, and it's like, okay, why am I still dealing with this fucking thing? You couldn't
yeah.
put in a second creature.
Yeah. Like the
And they
lack
do, but
of.
it's like it's like, how many times am I going to have to fight this guy? It doesn't make them feel threatening. It makes them feel
Hmm.
annoying.
Yeah.
And I think when you take all of that away, it's like you can't have in-person interactions with every single one. Like, you can't replace the codec calls with in-person interactions, is the core of what I'm saying, without taking away from how threatening that character is. Having him like constantly having basically every antagonist in RE4 constantly bugging Leon and like playing with him and mocking him and taunting him over the course of the game is what the character build up to those fight sequences where you eventually overcome them.
Yes.
That's what makes them satisfying, is that you're
Absolutely.
finally getting back at this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's true of Sadler. That's true of
Ramon
or yeah, or
and even Jack. Like, and I will say I'm on the side of I hate Jack's redesign. Like
I
Krauser's.
never got to it. So
Yeah, I didn't like his redesign.
how the fuck does the Krauser thing work without the previous interactions? Is it just the one fight and then you're done?
Pretty much. Like
That sucks.
you see him a couple of times, but like it's not like anything where they talk about their past per se. Like Krause, I
Mm.
mean, I don't know if you care about spoilers or not.
I mean, kind of do. I like that
Okay,
fight.
okay, that's what I was like. I was like, I don't know if you want me to say anything about that fight that you're supposed to have with them, or like the couple fights that you have with them.
I mean, I think you can speak to it from like a narrative or gameplay perspective without, spoiling. I mean,
Oh,
the actual fight itself is the content, so it's
yeah,
not like I'm going to be surprised by anything unless they change
yeah.
something
No, it's because they're like,
significantly.
yeah, there's just some story bits that lead up to it. Um, so that's why I was like, I don't want to get touched too much on it. But yeah, I
Mm.
felt like those codec calls that you don't get from the original really take away from me absolutely caring about any of these fights. Really, though I think the person who does shine is Ramon. Like when you're in his castle, he does bug you the most, but it's still not to the level of how it was like in the
It's
OGs.
not as it's no amount of in-person interaction is going to make Salazar as fucking annoying as he was constantly bugging you over the fucking codec.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a shame that they got rid of that. Um, because that I think that's one thing I feel they should have had, like stayed true to the remake with the OG, was having all those interactions. Also, too, another gripe: I hate Ashley's AI in both games.
I mean,
Her
as much as I
AI,
listen, it
uh,
was a real statement for me to say that RE4 is a perfect game. There's so many goddamn problems with RE4,
yeah.
and Ashley being the most suicidal fucking escort mission
Do you
on
know how many
like
times I've
in gaming.
shot Ashley in the remake because she's running around constantly?
I don't, but I trust it.
Like I'm sitting there trying to snipe somebody, or I'm
Did
just
they
like
remove the
shooting.
tech where you can just tell her to sit in a dumpster the whole day?
Yeah, the dumpsters are gone.
Oh no.
Like practically all that stuff is gone where you can't just tell her to hide. You can tell her to wait, but then you have to keep an eye on her because
But then you
someone's
have to
gonna
keep an
run
eye
at
on
her.
her. Yeah, because the rooms aren't as like it,
Yeah.
and we use like the more technical perspective of like, oh, this is not a room, it's outside. But when it
Yeah.
comes to the actual map and interaction design, this is a room,
Yeah.
and they are
Absolutely.
not as singularly hallway shaped as they once were.
Oh yeah. So yeah, there's some stuff where you're like, Jesus, why? Like you gave me this, but then you gave me this, and it just
Like the one I can tell you, the sequence that's right after essentially it's replacing the sequence right after you get the rifle. Like there's that one like windswept, like essentially it's a hallway, but
oh,
it's
after
it's
you
like your
meet
first major.
the merchant for the first time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. um in like OG, that is a hallway. That is a
Hmm.
hallway with like different paths, but
Yeah.
ultimately it is a hallway. The version of it that they have in remake, it has so much more verticality.
Yep.
Like it does not feel like a room. In the original,
It's
that's
like a
like, okay,
tower.
here is my horse blinder. I see the exit on the other side. There's two or three paths that I can walk back, up and down and through. Um, but yeah, no, you don't have it is limiting, and it's like something that is a product of its time, but trying to shift past that makes it almost more difficult. So if you're telling
Yeah.
me that there aren't designated save points to have Ashley exist in the dumpster like the little trash goblin she is,
Hmm.
that's gonna suck. But I also look forward to it because RE4 is
Yeah.
one of my favorite games.
Oh yeah, it's a great game regardless. There's just again those little things where I was like, I feel like that takes some of the pizzazz away. Also, the fact that again, but this has to do with obviously the tonal changes. I still prefer the OG merchant over the new merchant. New merchant's cool,
Yeah,
but
New
I just
Merchant
like the
being a pirate
personality
is
of who.
fun.
Yeah,
Like it's fun, but it's not. it's not the merchant.
Yeah. Also, I will say, and this is a section you get to later on. Ashley, when you play as her gameplay isn't that bad actually. Even though
Okay,
she doesn't
like
attack or
I'll
anything,
take the improvements
but
on that
her
because
gameplay is actually pretty good.
I remember the armor sequence
Yeah.
in the OG game was a
Yeah.
goddamn nightmare.
I
It's
do
still one of my
also
favorite
like.
sections because it's very
I
fun to
I will
see
say the
her
one
like.
thing I do like that they did, getting rid of the QTE stuff. So much more fantastic.
Okay, like did they make her more of a character?
Yeah,
Okay, because
but
that was like the big thing in every RE playthrough is like, okay, am I going to save my tri herb for me, or am I going to save three of them for Ashley so that she doesn't get killed in a single hit?
yeah, that's true because sometimes one little thing is like, Ashley, fucking Leon's over here
Hmm.
screaming to the fucking heavens, or when you accidentally shoot her, oh, just you can see he hears fucking
I can imagine
his
that's a much more common
dissatisfaction.
problem
It's
in the remake.
yeah, her AI in the remake. You could just see her just running across the screen, just constantly in front of your scope, and you're like, I swear to God, woman,
You know what? If nothing,
just
true to form that Ashley's AI is bad in the remake.
that they kept immaculate.
But now you can't
Uh,
subvert it by placing her in a
but
dumpster. The
I mean, but
tragedy.
overall though, like it's a great game though. Regardless of what they have changed,
Yeah, I
it's
mean
still a
it's
great
still
game.
Resident Evil 4.
Little changes aside, you're like, they're not like what are they gonna
I don't know
dis
why like
distaste you?
RE4 and Final Fantasy 7 are so married in my head. Maybe it's because I played them relatively close
Yeah,
back to back and the first time I played them, but
probably.
I feel like they mirror each other in their remake iterations too because it's like Capcom can't afford to make RE4 bad. It has to be good.
Yeah, absolutely,
The same way that
absolutely.
Square broke the fire alarm emergency glass on the wall when they decided to remake Final Fantasy VII because that has to be their best game, and that may or
Uh,
may not have actually, they might not be meeting that standard currently. Cough, cough, rebirth. Um, but yeah, no, like again, I think that's like as long as it's able to channel and celebrate and then iterate and build upon the intention of the characters while also providing like maybe a more streamlined gameplay
mhm.
kind of vibe and feel,
Yeah,
then yeah, I mean that is a successful remake. That is what you look to remix.
absolutely.
Which when it comes to iterating on content, or when it comes
Yay!
to iterating on content, nope, god damn it. When it
When
comes
it
to
comes that
iterating on
comes at you.
content, it's a little bit of a combination of both with another remaster that
Hmm.
we both purchased, but I have yet to actually go back and play because I have this deep love of multi-hundred-hour RPGs.
Yes, and I
Um,
finished this last year. I played it right when it came out.
yeah.
Tactics
So
is
Final Fantasy Tactics: The Evil East Chronicles.
mm, one of my favorite Final Fantasies of all time.
I would go so far as to say that OG Tactics is my favorite Final Fantasy,
That's saying a lot too.
just bar none.
Yeah,
That is saying a lot, but I also have bad opinions about Final Fantasy. I still think 10 is among the best.
I mean, 10 is among the best.
Yeah, but try having that conversation with who's like with someone who focuses on the story and not the gameplay.
Yeah, well, you know,
They're like, "Oh yeah, laughing sequence," and I'm like, "Yeah, that the laughing sequence is intentional.
yeah.
They were
It's meant.
directed to be stilted and awkward."
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, no, the Tactics Evil East Chronicles HD remaster came out. It's on
Beautiful.
the Switch. It's on Steam. Um,
It's on the
it's
PlayStation.
Tactics. It's
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. I feel like it's an interesting juxtaposition to have the OG. be translated as well as it was, because there are some editions, and I haven't played through it myself, but I did watch you stream it.
Yes. Well, it's
Um,
funny because technically OG Tactics on the PlayStation was the one that had the bad translation. War of the
yeah.
Lions on the PSP is the one where they had the great translation, but then they
So I
changed
haven't
some of the
gone
gameplay
through. Oop, hold on.
where some people weren't happy about it.
Wait, repeat your last sentence in 5 seconds so I can get to just the fucking logo.
Well, I think that's like towards the end.
Yeah, but I'm trying to get it without the fucking pre-order bonus bullshit.
Well,
No, well, that's motherfucking pre-order bonus, the game.
you're gonna catch
If
it
I can get,
regardless. Man's just trying to go frame by frame here.
I can go frame by frame. Let's, nope.
Um,
The YouTube shorthand doesn't work anymore. Shit.
yeah, that's
Okay.
fine right there.
All right, go ahead and say what you were saying.
No, but so yeah, OG Tactics is the one that the translation wasn't exactly up to par. It was pretty
Yeah.
good, but wasn't up to par. War of the Lions is the one where they had a legitimate like translation team that retranslated the game, made the
Yes.
story that much better. But then they changed some of the gameplay stuff, which slowed down summons and spell casting. But they also added 2 new classes, and they added Balthier into the War of the Lions one. The Evil East Chronicles one is a mix of both.
I was gonna say
It,
what content was brought forward, because I haven't gone through it yet, but it's on
so
my list.
essentially, Evil East Chronicles, the new remaster version, plays like the original game, but with the translation of War of the Lions. And then you take into account that they got voice acting, full voice acting for this, and the cast that they have behind it was fantastic. A lot of them were new voice actors outside of like some
Okay.
of the big ones, like Ben Starr, obviously being the big one. They got Cloud and Aerith's voice actors. Spoilers: Cloud is in the game. Um,
Yes,
yeah,
spoilers for game that is 10,000 years old.
you're right.
Um,
But it's so great going through the game again, and then you hear a lot of these conversations played out and you hear the emotions behind it compared to how I used to like translate these scenes or the emotions or what I gave them. So, and it just hit so much harder hearing
yeah.
all of the actual tonal like shifts, the way they were having their arguments, how what in my head I thought they were like yelling at each other. No, they're just having a very fierce conversation, but like a one-on-one, or like they're just very serious, but their tone's like something like this, where it's like, Delita, you don't understand what's going on. And it's like, oh shit, in my head I thought they were like going at it. Like they legitimately were like yelling at each other. Um Voice acting, top notch. The
Yeah.
quality of life to the gameplay, beautiful. They streamlined a lot of it. You can speed through a lot of the battles now too, so it's not like taking forever to see all the animations or the cast time.
Okay.
The ability to skip battles when you're like wandering the open world, I love, because that's one thing. Oh my god, always threw me for a loop. Always threw me for a loop when you would get into the open world and you're traveling from location to location, and suddenly boom, you get into a battle, but you have to take it. Like you can't skip it. Here, you trigger a battle and it says, "Do you want to fight or do you just want to flee?" Like you can just move on with your. So, so much of the quality of life is just beautiful. The only thing this game does lack, which of course fans have added, because fans will do what fans do in terms of modding for the PC version, at least, they added the classes that were cut from War of the Lions and
Ooh.
Balthier into a mod so that you can put them back in. So the
Wait,
Dark
so they
Knight and
didn't bring Balthier forward to
Balthier, the Dark Knight, and the Onion Knight were cut from this version, but
that sucks.
the fans made a
But
mod to add them in.
yeah, I mean, but when it comes to this kind of game, you would want them to celebrate all of the content that matters to people, and I
Of
feel
course.
like that is what made War of the Lions tolerable.
hmm Obviously,
Um,
yes.
with the
Um,
caveats that that version has.
but also a cool little feature about this game too is that when you load it up, you can choose to play the original PS1 version of the game with all its original text, text, the original sound effects, the original
Mhm.
everything, true to what you remember, or you can choose to play the Evil East Chronicle remaster version. So I was like, oh, so they gave the
Which has
fans
full voice acting, so I feel like
correct.
the decision's kind of made for you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not always, because there are some people who did prefer to play the original because they like the
Yeah.
original. They, that was their nostalgia effect. Or some people went back to play the original just to see the differences. Um, so yeah, like streamlining a lot. Oh, also too, I will say what I like too is making your characters like the characters that you get that you recruit. I'm not talking about like your army characters. I'm talking about some of the special characters that you get
Yeah.
actually viable. Like you get them and they're already like at a level where they're worthwhile to have and train, where you're not starting from like base level
Starting from
fucking
scratch.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to train them all the way because that was Cloud's problem in the original, which is why Cloud sucked in the original. Because by the time you get him
Because by the
in
time you
chap,
get to him, you are blowing him like out of the water when it comes to like invested levels and XP, and
correct.
having to build him up to
Yeah.
match where you're currently at is a whole like 20-hour endeavor.
They you get him so late that it's like, do I want to spend another like 20 to 25 hours just grinding him up? No, I don't want to. So like a lot of times, like I mean, me
And the
personally,
answer that
I
younger
never.
younger Connor would tell you is fuck yeah.
Yeah, at least this time you get him and he's already at a certain level where you're like, oh, okay, he's viable,
Hey,
he's
quality of
usable.
life features, thanks.
Also, I will say the grind also, I wouldn't say is easier, but it's smoother to grind out levels
Okay.
to get the classes. Like it's not, it wasn't as uh argue what's the word I'm looking for? It wasn't as a pain as it was before.
Arduous.
Arduous. There we go. That's the word. Yeah, it wasn't as arduous as it was before. So the remaster for me hits all levels of yeah. This is beautiful. Like this is wonderful. One thing I didn't know either until later on in the game, um, you see some cutscenes play out, but if you
Mhm.
go through like the Chronicles tab of the menus, you get to view the full FMV movies that were included in the War of the Lions version, where you see the
Ooh.
cutscenes actually played, not just like the little models of the pixel models, talking. And they, so I was like, that's pretty cool
Yeah, but
actually
the
that they
full like
included
pre-rendered
both.
stuff.
Yeah. So I was like, that's pretty cool. They included both. So yeah, this remaster has
Yeah,
been
I think
was
like
solid.
bringing aside from not bringing forward both of your, which is like here's your one positive you can have for War of the Lions,
Hmm.
aside from the fact that its translation's better. Um, aside from the main reason that War of the Lions exists, content difference.
Yes.
Um, I wish they would have brought forward everything, but I
Yeah.
understand,
Same. A lot of people
there are
did.
certain things you want to focus on. But yeah, I think like that as a remaster, adding full voice work is one of those bigger undertakings that is such a
Oh, just
like it's so
perfect.
player focused positive. Because as much as I enjoy going through and playing the game, it's a lot easier to have like you were saying, it's a lot easier to have whatever the intention behind certain fully acted out scenes,
Hmm.
like how that reads to a person might be different if you leave it up to interpretation. But if you have the full voice acting, you get to experience the intended iteration of events.
Yeah.
It makes a huge difference. Like that was
Yeah.
the difference that brought me back to play, and it wasn't a remaster or remake, but just the update that made me actually finish Disco Elysium was the uh fucking full version of the game
Mm.
had full voice acting.
Oh, I still need to go back. I still need to play that actually.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good one.
But
But I feel like it's really interesting that they brought forward. It's like, oh hey, pick your version,
Yeah.
because I think the best version of that like quality of life feature or that like appeal to nostalgia feature where it's like, okay, we have the updated version, we have what changes we made. But if you are so desperate uh for your nostalgia, um
They're like, here's
go
the
ahead
OG
and
version.
pick the lesser of the two, but fucking
Yeah.
it's there for you. I think the best version of that shot out of the dark, but it reminded me of the Halo Master Chief Collection. How
Oh, right.
you
Right.
can completely turn off the new like retexture layover
Mm-hmm.
because it's running over the original game. So
Yeah.
you can switch to the original game.
On the
Uh,
fly. On the fly, too.
yeah, it's a single button press.
Yep. I remember that.
But yeah, like providing that OG option for the people who are like, no, I want the thing that I remember. It's it's nice to see it there.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's a great little thing. It's like, hey, it's there if you want it, but here's what the
But
intended
also, we
purpose
did all
was.
this work.
But
If
yeah,
you want to enjoy that,
because
um,
even after playing this game so many times, like hearing the voice acting, there were times where I was like, this person's kind of making some sense over here. But then you like obviously then you see Ramza and like by the end of it, I was just like, man, Ramza's just done trying to dialogue with people. He's just like, all right, we're fighting. That's it. Because
Rams is tired and
Ramza every
respectfully,
time
that exhaustion is earned.
every time Ramza would be like, look, let's just talk things out. I don't want to fight. This is what's going on. No one wants to believe him. And then they're like, kill him. He's like, do you guys really want to do this? Oh, and then he takes out enemies, and suddenly he's the
Rams is like,
heretic.
all right, I'll take out my full team of fucking
Yeah,
summoners to one turn this.
here's my arithmeticians, and they're just gonna hit everyone on the field. Good luck.
Yep.
Oh, it's like, oh, here's my
It's like
summoner. He's about to
my
drop
team
a
is so
literal
stacked that I can
bomb.
afford the friendly fire of this AoE.
Right? Yeah, right. I was just like, dude. But yeah, the voice acting just, my God, dude, it floored me every time hearing like everything going down.
Yeah. No, I'm kind of like there's a part of me that I'm like actively mad at myself because when it comes to games like this, I
Hmm.
know myself enough that I will turn away from everything the fuck else and then no life it for 100 hours.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And I would like to finish Expedition 33 before another year passes.
Oh yeah, I definitely need to get on that one too.
Yeah, I'm there. I'm like halfway through Act 3. Uh, but yeah, no, like so that when it comes to like what a remaster could be, this kind of skirts the line between what a remake and remaster is, but this is definitely the best iteration of things that you can do that do not change, the content too severely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, the one that comes to mind when it comes to changing content, let's switch over to this,
Oh yes,
is you enjoy Suda 51 games. I enjoy Suda
I
51 games.
definitely do.
Uh,
I
I
played the
definitely
remaster
didn't.
of Shadows of the Damned. Would
Shadows of the Damned
recommend.
remaster is actually pretty good.
Would
One that is not
recommend.
as good, unfortunately, is the Lollipop Chainsaw Repop edition
You know,
that came out last year to middling applause and then a lot of criticism.
no, no, no. It came out. Then that's about it. It came out.
It came out, sure, yeah, it definitely came out. So when it comes to
Uh,
like FF Tactics, the Evil Ace Chronicles brought forward a whole bunch of content and is like, okay, here's a celebration of what this is and the best translation of what it is by adding
mm-hmm.
to it. Um, so I'm not gonna say that Lollipop Chainsaw was high art because I mean I would. I'm a B movie weirdo. Uh, but Lollipop Chainsaw was a mid-tier action game made by Suda, and
Shocker.
it was the best kind of trash. And it was a pretty competent action game on top of everything else. The thing that really set it apart, however, was and maybe some people don't focus on this as much, the fucking soundtrack. It
Yes.
was a whole bunch of licensed music, which is really hard to continue to support, especially if you're going to port it or remaster it, because the game is not going to make the money back that it would cost to re-license every single one of those tracks.
Mm.
Um, and the tragic aspect of that is that a lot of the tone setting in that game is done with that music. Like fucking,
Yeah.
there's too many examples. Like there's an entire boss fight that doesn't make sense. Now, I'm not saying that it's a fucking muted nightmare situation like anything
I
that
mean,
happens on YouTube,
they
but
put in original music, that's for sure.
the original music is not anywhere near like did even the core background music was licensed. It just didn't have
Yeah. No, no, no. I mean, like
fucking
for this remake, they made an
yeah,
original
they no,
OST
so
for
they
it,
they
which
made new background. They made a new series of tracks that were set to, replace the licensed music that was pulled. It just wasn't the quality, or it didn't meet that expectation.
yeah,
Um, and it's kind of hard to, it's such a little thing in retrospect. But yeah, no, the lack of soundtrack, it's like the soul of the game is just drained. Now you can still play the thing; it still plays relatively well. There were some quality of life improvements when it came to gameplay, but the only real difference aside from content that was pulled, I mean, there's a couple of new like costumes in the game. They rebalanced the shop
hmm
so that you have access to a little bit more, but functionally, um, like the only other big difference is the pop mode
yeah,
or the repop mode, which is just the censored Japanese and Chinese part of the game that cuts out all the blood and gore,
mm,
because the blood and gore is still there in the OG version,
yeah.
and it is there in the standard remastered version, but it what it replaces it with is not really content quality. Like
Mm.
this is just like how they censored it. They
Mm.
they brought in
Also,
sparkles and blackened it out, but
didn't you mention something about like the comic book intros or something like that too?
yeah, so that was another thing, is that a lot of the soul of the game, a lot of the tone is set in like embracing that fucking camp aspect of it.
Yes,
And
of course.
this was like most
Ev.
notable in every single character introduction was in a screen that had like a comic book art style, to the point where they literally were using Comic Sans for the text on that shit. But
No
now
shot.
in this version of it, it's supposed to be like comic book camp.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, of course.
but in this version of it, it's just like, okay, here's like a single freeze frame of the existing character model. Uh,
Oh, that's disgusting.
like, yeah, no, it's just like, okay, yeah, no, here's a
Mm.
character introduction. Still Comic Sans, I think,
Yeah,
but
that's like
we don't have
literally
the context
that's like
because
literally taking the charm out of like this of a
that's the
Suda
story
51
framework, is
game.
that you open up to like a comic book like page
Mm-hmm.
flipping sequence, and you're moving frame to frame, and that's how the story's presented. And then they take that away for some reason. Is it because the models have been completely remade and the texture quality has been improved? No. And if that is the case, it isn't apparent.
Damn.
So you have, and like, maybe I'm just championing this game because I was one of those people who had to like defend playing it, because the gameplay is solid. It's a good action game. It's a fun game.
Yes.
The
That's one
story
thing
is fun. It's one
I've
of
heard
those
about.
interesting things where you have to get the bad ending first, otherwise you can't, because of the way the grade sequencing works to get like the good and then best version of the ending.
Really?
Um, yeah.
That's interesting.
So in the OG game, there was like a good, bad, and like true ending, and it was based on how many of the students you saved in each of the levels. And
Yeah.
I know that like basically you have to fuck up badly enough that end game spoiler, Juliet gets home and like either her mom or her dad have been zombified. and that's only what happens if you. I think you have to save like less than a certain number. I don't remember what the qualifier was, but I knew that it was one of those things that like once you did the best version, the best run of that level, because you could replay each of the levels individually.
Yeah.
Like it used your best run. So unless you like
Oh,
progress wipe,
that's stupid.
you can only get the bad version of the ending if you fuck up and then get to the end.
Oh, that's
Because
shitty.
without starting fresh,
Yeah.
uh you progress even if you rerun through a level, it only tracks your best version of it or your best clear. So if you do those things that you miss out on to trigger the bad ending, then you don't get to get the bad ending after the fact.
That is shitty.
That's a Suda 51 weird idiosyncrasy thing that it came when it came to like the actual
I never
gameplay.
knew that. I never knew that about that game.
But I mean, I hyper focusing on certain stuff aside, the actual gameplay is good. It's a good character action game. Like it's not Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, but it's a lot closer to
It,
a Devil May Cry than not.
there you go.
It's style, man. It's a very particular vibe. There are very few games that go for this kind
Aesthetic.
of vibe.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean the aesthetic, it's definitely like early aughts TV show shenanigans,
Mm-hmm.
but in like a hyper exaggerated way. I've never seen anything go as hard in on an aesthetic as Lollipop Chainsaw. Uh, with the exception of like recently, there's a first person like boomer shooter called Don't Stop Girly Pop that is fucking insane, and I wanted to play on demonstrables, but the demo became
that's
unlicensed after
that's a,
like a week.
that's a title.
Yeah, it's like, hey, what if what's that other game that everyone loves as a boomer shooter? I'm trying to think of it.
Doom.
It's not Doom. It's one of the modern ones. It's
I don't know. I got nothing.
fuck it. It doesn't matter. But yeah, Don't Stop Girly Pop is like, hey, what if you had like magical girl vision over a major like high speed boomer shooter?
Hmm.
And I'm like, this game, this aesthetic reminds me of like Juliet Starling vision. It's a
You
good
know,
game, and it's like I want to see the thing that I like be good.
yeah, of
You know,
course. I mean, yeah, yeah, because of course it's like it's something you thoroughly enjoyed, and you're like, cool. Here's a second resurgence for it to be even better, and then you realize it's like, oh, it actually
and it's like how
works.
many compromises had to be made for this to exist, and is it worth it? Because I don't think it is.
Uh, Especially with something like as significant as the music, which makes a lot of
Like I get
the
it.
gameplay like hit harder.
Like not everybody can go through to shit. What was that? Wasn't White Owl Studio? It was the character action like rhythm game that Microsoft killed the studio for.
Oh, Hi-Fi Rush,
Yeah, like not everyone can do
Tango,
a Tango Gameworks, yeah.
yeah,
Not everyone can do a hi-fi rush level of quality for your quote unquote streamer mode, or like we don't want to pay for the licensed music licenses anymore
yeah.
iteration of a game. Because I hazard to say that Hi-Fi Rush's OG music that you get for turning streamer mode on is better than
Mm-hmm.
their choices for licensed music.
Yeah,
But I like, I wish that that level of quality and
care
effort went into
into
care and
this.
consideration, honestly,
Yeah,
went into this remaster.
yeah. Because you know what two other games come to mind now that you mentioned that did that. The
Hmm.
Guardians of the Galaxy game by Square,
Yes.
and then most recently Dispatch. Dispatch had that
Yeah,
form with
yeah.
the censorship,
Dispatch is
with the music and with some of the visuals, and I was like, that's a nice touch because they knew
although one of
people were
those
gonna
things
want to
about
stream
the streamer quote censored safe version of the game is still getting flagged.
Yeah. Well, on
But
YouTube side, Twitch was okay with it
yeah,
completely. I know that. YouTube, yeah, they were a bit more particular.
YouTube's YouTube about
Yeah.
everything. Um, but yeah, no. So it's like I don't want if you're going to remaster something, I don't want to see
Mm-hmm.
more removed content than new content.
Yes.
And is there a whole bunch of new content in Repop? Yeah, sure. But it's also not as high quality.
Which sucks.
Um, we'll switch over. Although I will say, when it comes to altering content, the one remaster that I'm most looking forward to playing because I want to see how it shifts is the Bravely Default remaster for Nintendo Switch 2. Um,
Is this out already,
or
or is it still coming out?
I I think it's either recently released or it's on its way,
Hmm.
but the Bravely Default HD remaster, tying in a little bit more to Tactics of all things, because this is essentially a sequel to For Warriors of Light. Um,
Yeah,
but
actually.
they got far enough in the development, they're like, okay, let's just add new shit. Let's just change the context of the story so that we can make something a little more something of its own, like worth its own name. And like Bravely Default is, like, I say that Final Fantasy Tactics is my favorite Final Fantasy. I would go so far as to say Bravely Default is among my favorite Final Fantasies,
This was a
because
DS
the
game, huh?
Aster this was a 3DS game.
3DS game. 3DS. My fault.
And this was the era of 3DS games too, because there's an entire like it would, this is one of those games where it's like it took so much it took way more advantage of the format of the system that it came out on, because not only did this have some content that was restricted to the two touchscreen kind of thing, but there is a secondary mini game where your protagonist town gets destroyed in the beginning of the game.
Oh
You
shit.
rebuild the town, and it's like a little micro town simulator, and
Oh,
also uh
kind of like
like
Dark
you're
Cloud.
taking yeah, you're taking like the best versions of your team, and you can fight uh like there's like not actual in-game fights, but there's a system where you can get the best version of your team for a single attack to do damage against fight sequences that would happen in exchange for resources.
Hmm.
Anyway, most of the rebuilding of the town took like real time that your
Oh
system had
shit.
to be on,
Damn.
and it was just perfect for when I started playing it, which was when I think I was just starting community college, and it was like, okay, but I'm gonna leave this on in my pocket in sleep mode because it counts. Uh,
Oh nice.
After I'm gonna start this class, go to this class, and by the end of that, this new version of this thing will be done. And I think there's some things that will give you access to additional. Uh, it's been a while. Like I think that like certain weapon upgrades and shops
What's
are
the
locked
gameplay?
behind the town.
Is it a turn? I've never played Bravely Default, so I don't
It
know. Is it a
is
turn
it is a
based?
classic Final Fantasy turn-based RPG, and it is so
Oh.
hyper focused on
Okay.
the
Okay.
the job system, essentially, that
Oh,
it is the
beautiful.
core of its narrative is your characters are going around and fighting essentially people who are asterisk users, which is essentially Final Fantasy archetype classes. Like
Asterisk users.
you
They're on
defeat the white
steroids.
mage.
No.
God damn. You defeat the white mage pretty early on, and then you get the ability to have your character switch from freelancer to white mage,
Oh,
and
okay.
so on and so forth. And a lot of these side stories are like, no, this is not a side story. This is you going and doing this boss fight so that you can become a red mage.
Oh, that's
Uh,
sick. I need to play
so
this then. I've never had a. I didn't have a 3DS for
I
that
I
long, so I
think,
never got to play it.
especially since you have a Switch too,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
this is a good one to go back and play.
The
Um,
perfect opportunity.
but it's one of those things where it's like this remaster is not only necessary from an accessibility standpoint, which we mentioned a little bit earlier, because again, Bravely Default OG was a 3DS game. There was
Mm-hmm.
also something, it had integration with the Street Pass system so that like for you could call in a single attack from someone that you street passed with. So it's like
What?
you can pass somebody and it's like, okay, they had their Agnes is usually your default summoner, or she has the stats to support being the summoner asterisk more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be like, okay, call in Agnes to be the fucking summoner for the single attack. So get a free summon strike for this battle because you used your street pass thing.
That's pretty cool,
And
actually.
then you could record essentially one attack and then become have that be your street pass fucking assist essentially. What
Hmm.
and so there's that. There's the town building mechanics. There's it was so locked into the hardware that having it transfer out of that hardware now that the 3DS is defunct this is such like a key RPG. It is something that I would say is this is a go-to when it comes to like what is a approachable JRPG that can explain what the fucking genre is to people.
What's in a JRPG? Pray.
But no, like it's a celebration of like its source material because this is like, hey, the best Final Fantasy isn't a Final Fantasy, it's Bravely Default. Uh, it, because like the entire narrative encompasses just like, hey, it is a war for the crystals. The crystals are your like primary
Yeah.
narrative thing, and it's a little bit closer to 16's storyline now that I'm thinking about it. Not in that way, but like it's that level of here. Like society relies on these crystals functioning,
Yeah.
but they're also the source of a lot of the monster problems.
Damn.
Um, like I'm giving a crap explanation on the narrative because it's been checks watched fucking 12 years since I played the game.
Jesus.
Um, yeah,
Jesus.
has it actually been that long?
Probably.
Oh no, it's been that long. It's yeah, it's been 12 years at least since I replayed the game. Oh, that hurts.
Jesus.
Uh anyway, the immutable passage of time aside, uh accessibility. It's important. People should be able to play Bravely Default because it is a very good game.
Absolutely.
It was locked to hardware that does not have access to its own digital storefront anymore. 3DSs are not being actively produced. Trying to find a physical copy of this game is not as bad as trying to find a Shin Megami Tensei game that came out on the 3DS when it comes to scalper pricing, but it's
Hell
not
no.
good.
That's it's rough.
It's a game with a fan base, which means that venture capitalists are gonna fucking sell it to you for 15 times what it originally sold for. Not that
Hell
bad,
yeah.
but it's still like try find a 3DS copy. It's hard.
Oh yeah.
And then
Absolutely.
having the hardware to play it on, also not the best. So the fact that this remaster is bringing it into, if nothing else, bringing it to a an audience that can experience it for the first time, but also for people who are just like, I would like to play this again. I don't have a functioning 3DS. Okay, I guess this is something that the Switch 2 is going to be used for. I know that like we kind of have a gripe when it comes to how many remasters especially come out for Nintendo products, but it's also like, okay, here is a beloved franchise.
Yeah.
Is it available on hardware currently?
See, like
The
that,
answer 9 times out of 10 is no.
like
And when
speaking
it
on that,
comes, or good,
no, no, no. I was just gonna make the point. Like speaking on that, like I know Nintendo likes to bring remasters of games where I'm like, okay, I guess. This one though feels very necessary because it's like I I I personally, because I've never played this, but I personally saw how crazy people went for what was it, Bravely Default, like the other two Bravely Default games that were on the Switch, like Bravely
yeah.
Default
Well,
2 and the
so Bravely Second came out on the 3DS, and then I think Bravely Default 2
2 is
came
on the
out
Switch.
on the Switch.
But the thing is, the reception that I saw from that, I was like, holy shit, people really do like this franchise. So for them to
Yeah,
do this, I'm like, that makes
I would
sense.
say Bravely Default is a more successful celebration of the JRPG than fucking Octopath Traveler was, and that game's all about like, hey, what if your memory of 2D pixel art was as good as it was,
Yeah,
or it was as good as you remember it being?
yeah. But that's why seeing this one like kind of took me by surprise. But at the same time, like hearing you talk about it, I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Which means they were aware that they were like they probably heard a demand for this, and they
Yeah.
were like, let's toss it out there. Because I did hear
And I think
nothing but
especially because
positives.
six is your favorite, like that era of Final Fantasy, like that this game
Yes.
will hit that much harder for you.
Yeah. I mean, I do want to try this. That's the thing. Now that I have access to it, I know I can. So I won't.
Yeah.
I will play this at some point.
Because as much as we love to, especially when it comes to Nintendo games, as much as
Mm-hmm.
we love to think that emulation will be an option, especially with Nintendo games, it usually isn't
Yeah.
because they have weird hardware idiosyncrasies. The Switch is the first that it's like kind of easy to emulate most of the games that come out for it.
Yep.
Cough, cough. Hypothetically, I don't know.
Don't quote
Allegedly,
me.
allegedly. Um, but no, it's like you have a traditional controller layout as opposed to trying to emulate Silent Hill Shattered Memories, which doesn't work with a classic controller layout. You have to have your waggling goddamn Wiimote for that game to run.
Mm, that
Um,
is also true.
so yeah, it's a matter of accessibility when it comes to the game being available to play. Uh, I think that that's also like that is the strongest point for the constant deluge of remasters is like, okay, there is a fan base that is not getting served new content for a particular franchise. The best we can do is making that game available to play on modern hardware. The other half of that I think is I know I've been
No,
sequence
no,
chaining here.
no. You're fine.
I think the best version of events for most remasters, the unspoken rule of a lot of these remasters is that they are there to gauge interest in new content.
Yes.
So when it comes to Raito Kusunoha and the Soulless Army,
Are the subtitles
um,
in French? They are in French.
don't worry about it. So when it comes to Raito, nah, I'm just gonna we're gonna start that from the beginning.
Taisho
Okay.
20.
When it comes to Raito Kusunoha and the Mystery of the Soulless Army, I'm pretty sure that this game, Capcom's usually the one who's guilty of this, but Atlas has also made themselves a name in the space of releasing a remaster to gauge interest in a sequel,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or more remasters, because I'm praying that the Raito games getting remastered equal more Raito games getting remastered because King Abaddon is my preferred of the two. Um, but I think that the other thing with gauging interest is so that you can justify remaking certain games that maybe could actually use the full remake treatment that could benefit from modern convenience, quality of life feature upgrades. Um,
Digital
there
Devil
are a
Saga
couple of
1 and
Shin
2.
Megami Tensei games in particular that I'm like, okay, Raito sold well, Raito made money.
Mm-hmm.
Will we finally get God, which one am I thinking of? It's the two that were on the PS2.
A Digital Devil Saga.
Yeah, well, not Saga. Is it Digital Devil Saga or Story? No, Story is the
No,
3DS game.
Story's the 3DS one. Digital Devil Saga 1 and 2 were the ones on the
Yeah,
PS2.
Digital Devil
And
Saga 1 and 2 need to be remade. Or they need to
the,
exist on modern hardware because emulating them is
yeah,
hard.
I was like, I don't
Um,
even care for a remake. Give me a nice remaster. I'll take them.
yeah, access on modern hardware would be great. Uh, so yeah, I mean, you can look at it from the sales perspective of like, okay, if we remastered this game, this is either like a way for us to reintroduce a particular character for new entries in a franchise that,
Mm-hmm.
may or may not be coming, but it could also gauge interest in whether or not it's worth investing in porting old games,
True.
which I generally think is always a good idea. And I think Atlas of all people should know that the second they put anything that is, uh, you know, preluded by the words Shin Megami Tensei
Yeah.
onto a storefront,
I mean,
it will make money.
the
It will make more than
remaster
they put into it.
the remastered SMT3 did very well. The only
Yeah.
hiccup they had, and I don't know if it was Atlas or Capcom, I'm pretty sure it was Capcom, was making Dante a paid DLC.
Yeah, that's a producer side thing. That's
But bullshit aside though,
yeah.
having the game on the Switch though again,
This and Nocturne are 100% like
yes, beautiful,
Nocturne was
fantastic.
remastered to gauge interest in putting 5 out and reiterating on like, hey, remember the last thing that actually counted in this part of the SMT storyline? Because we're not going to acknowledge 4. The 5 is a sequel to 3. Don't worry about it.
For it's gonna stay on the
It's
3DS,
not
that's
it's
for
not
sure.
actually that streamlined. There's a whole 70 game tree we can fucking go and break down.
Yeah, I know.
But again, the conversation for a different time. Um, but yeah, no, so like, hey, making Nocturne available outside of emulators, good on you, because that's a game that I don't want to pay $400 to have a physical copy of for the
You're killing me.
PS2. And that's honestly the reason I go for getting as many remasters as I do, because it's like, oh hey, look, there's a game that I A, don't have to break out old hardware to play, B,
True.
don't have to figure out an emulator for, and C, don't have to pay a scalper or a reseller or collector uh, seller like 17 times what the original MSRP was to be able to say I have.
Hmm, that's true. Whew. I need to play this remaster. I only got to try the demo at that IGN event we went
At
to,
the IGN event, yeah,
but I
I did
think I
too.
think I didn't. I haven't played like the full game since release, and I want to.
I'm looking at the unopened box on my shelf and having Rido stare back at me disappointed. Uh,
Dare you?
again, it's the same reason I didn't play, or I have not yet played, because I still also have it and it's also boring a hole in the back of my head. I haven't played the Evil East Chronicles because I
Yeah, of
know if
course.
I start playing that game, I'm going to drop everything else to do it.
Oh,
So I
absolutely.
need to I need to
That's for
finish
sure.
certain stuff, not just in games, like actual life stuff too. I will no life that game like no tomorrow.
As one does.
Let's see. What's
Uh,
the last? Yeah, we don't need to talk about that one.
yeah,
Let
that
me
one. That one's all
close
right.
that. But yeah, I think when it
I
comes
think we.
to, you're good.
Oh no. I was gonna say. Yeah, I think we've gotten I would say our point across of what we expect between a remake and remasters. You know what would make them successful.
Yeah, I mean, I have reserves. I have reservations when it comes to certain business practices, when it comes to a lot of the games that get put back out. I also
Yes.
think that there is, very similarly to the Hollywood media machine, the problem with remaking stuff is that usually you're only going to focus on things that have a degree of success where there is a fan base that you will make money off of.
Yeah.
So you're only like that's the problem. Like the difference between translation of an adaptation versus a full-on fucking remake is, unless you do a line for line, scene for scene remake just with new shit, and at which point you would ask, what is the point of this existing in terms of like traditional like movie TV show media.
Mm-hmm.
um when it comes to games, you could have games that were bad originally come out and be better.
Yep.
uh However, who are you going to sell that to? Like, it's either going to be a new experience for somebody entirely, in which case you could just make a new thing that doesn't have the baggage,
You know what's funny now
or
that. Oh no, no, continue
uh,
your point. No, no, continue.
um my train has been derailed.
No, you were talking about something about what the baggage, carrying the baggage up.
Yeah, so either you the problem with so either you make something that has an existing fan base where you know that, like, okay, this is a good thing that will bring in not only the old audience but new revenue.
Mm-hmm.
um the problem with that is that you're avoiding games that like could have had the opportunity to be really good, but like the issue with that is games like that are going to come with the inverse opinion. So you have people who are like, why would I buy the remake? The original sucked, who are not going to give it the chance that it would have otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree with you there. And it just sucks because I think for me personally, like I've mentioned, I just hate how every direct, every Sony presentation, every Xbox presentation, any flipping presentation, you can damn well expect there's gonna be a couple of remakes or remasters mentioned that either
Yeah, I
overshadow the
mean,
new stuff or it's just like, okay, thanks. Like for me personally,
it's
I,
it's
I
that fucking it's that problem where it's like, okay, do I want new good games? Yes. Yes, like unilaterally, new good games. That's what I want.
yes,
However, am I going to sit there staring a hole at whoever owns the IP for a particular franchise doing nothing with it forever? Like, how many fucking award shows started with people saying, "Oh, is this where they announced Bloodborne 2? Is this where they announce a Bloodborne PC remaster? Sony,
yeah,
10 years already?
yep,
Do anything with it?" Like, just go over to the dead body of the intellectual property and poke it with a stick and say, "Hey, do something."
yeah. But yeah, no, it just sucks because it's just like sometimes I'm like, is this necessary? Like, do we really? Like, are you guys that
There,
desperate?
I mean, there definitely are some that it's like, why does this exist?
Yeah, like,
And then there's some that are like, oh, hey, this is a. I mean, hell, there's a whole bunch of games that came out on the PS4 to PS5 generation where it's like, oh yeah, no, we're re-releasing this game on the PS5, and it's like, it's not a direct port.
The
You're calling it
Last
a
of Us.
PS5 version, or you can be. And I know we said we've said in prior things, we focus on The Last of Us and how Neil Druckmann doesn't know how to be a person,
Yep.
uh, a lot because it was relevant a lot. But um, when you remaster The Last of Us and then call it The Last of Us Part 1 Remastered,
Well,
that's intellectually insulting.
And
Also,
then they
because you
did.
took out content from that game. I don't think
Yeah.
that the multiplayer, which was on one, exists in the new
Well, yeah,
versions of it.
wasn't it? It's like there's The Last of Us, and there's The Last of Us remaster, HD remaster, or whatever, and then there's The
And then
Last of Us Part
they
One
relabeled it
remake.
again. Yeah,
Like,
they tagged on The Last of Us Part 1, like the retroactive context,
yeah,
like Part 2 is
it's
so important that the original game
dumb.
now needs to be referred to as Part 1.
Yeah, it's so disgusting. But also, to go back to another point that you had mentioned about they're like, oh, doing the one for one thing. I totally forgot about this game, which came out to like some, I wouldn't say mediocre, but it came out to some pretty good reviews. The remake of Link's Awakening on the Switch, where they added that new art style, but that game, one for one as the Game Boy. I would only say the great thing about that game is the quality of life to the controllers. But after that, like
Mm.
if you memorize the original game, it's the same exact thing, the same quest lines to get all the side stuff, the same exact locations for the dungeons, everything. And I was like, okay, that's cool. I mean, it's familiar. Would have I liked some scrambleization? Yeah, I think so. But it was still a good remake for what it was. I liked the art style for sure. That's what got me. But yeah, I was gonna
I
say that was
mean,
one of
the
those. I was like,
game,
yeah,
it's like how much of it is like, okay, here is the game. You can experience it again or for the first time
yeah,
because it's here.
yeah. I'll tell you right now, I
Uh,
perfected that game in a week. Like,
yeah,
and I never went back to it after. I was like, all right, cool. I beat it all the way through, and here we are. Okay, I enjoyed it, but yeah, I was like, damn. Like looking back, I'm like, yeah, that was I don't know, that was a choice to do it one for one. I wish they would have done more with it.
yeah. So it's like a lot of these things we rue the changes that are made, but then on the other hand, it's like, hey, you could have done more with this.
Yes, absolutely.
And once you get on that track of thought, you're just thinking to yourself, okay, instead of wasting all this time adding shit to an old game, you could have just made something new.
Yeah, could have put effort in. You
And
know
I
what you
know,
could have
like,
done? They could have put
I'm
more
not gonna
effort.
pretend that it's that simple. I'm not gonna pretend that it's
Oh,
the
of
same
course
amount of
not.
man hours or fucking focus or dedication and how much of your team goes into making a thing. I know the development is big and expensive and takes long. It
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
takes a big team to do what we see as very little
Yes.
in the moment. But there are some things where it's just like, man, this is like the effort could have been spent elsewhere.
You're like that was a choice. Oh, but yeah, I think we got our point out. I think we got our point across. What did you say?
Yeah, I think we have expressed the ambivalence we feel towards remasters because uh, again, it's one of those situations where I will see a remaster announced, and I
Mm-hmm.
will either roll my eyes as to who the fuck is this for, or I will be more hyped than a new game getting announced because it's like, oh hey, my favorite thing exists again.
Yeah, that I definitely forget about the new games coming out. Like I don't care about that. Give me that bad boy right there. I'll play that game
It's like I'll play
again.
I'll play Bravely Default 16 times a second time. Don't worry about the specificity in that number. Go
Fantastic.
ahead and just play the game.
But yeah, I think this is where we can call it then.
All of our viewers who have played Bravely Default are sitting there
Yeah.
chuckling, saying, "Yeah,
Mm.
Beyond, go ahead and play that game for the first time 16 times." Um,
Go ahead. Give in.
find out what it means to play Bravely Default. No, it's I don't know. I don't know with because it's like it's a necessary evil,
Yeah.
you know? It's definitely like a coin flip as to whether or not something is a huge cash grab. Uh, there's a variability when it comes to, hey, here's something that's an obvious cash grab, but it's still a good. product. Like there is merit in this thing existing.
Yeah.
Um, but there are a lot of examples of like, hey, this is pointless. This shouldn't be here. Do something else, please.
True. Well, I guess this is where we can call it, my friend. It was a great time
Yeah,
discussing this with you.
I think that we've exhausted our thoughts on that topic. A note for those faithful listeners in the future, you might have noticed that this episode of the Of Two Minds podcast went straight to both my and Beyond's YouTube channels, respectively.
Yes.
That is going to be the format going forward. We may have a couple of special exceptions where we
Do
either want to make
something
a
live.
discussion
Hmm?
or do something live when it comes to a live event, like a react content. The bonus episodes will usually be streamed, but when it comes to episodes of the podcast going forward, these are going to be on our YouTube channels respectively. So you can
Yes.
find those in their playlist over at A Damn Fine Cup of Gaming or Beyond.
At Beyond the Grave 07.
And if you guys enjoyed that conversation and wanted to see something else of a similar note or another topic or discussion idea, we both have our individual
Yes.
Discord servers
Suggestions?
where you can come in and make a suggestion of topics you want to see us talk about in the future.
Yeah. Aside from that, everyone, I hope you guys all enjoyed this. You guys all have yourself a good night. And we'll catch you on the next episode.
Yeah.
Take care, everyone. Peace.